Hi, welcome to Teach With Me. I am Miss Jen. Today I'm going to be starting a video series on a directed draw series on each letter of the alphabet. It's going to include a picture that I show you how to draw so that you can do it with your students or your children, and then a writing that goes with it. What it is when you're finished, you have made this book that you can then put out for open house. I always had about 3 books that we took the entire year to make, and the kids could take it home for open house. I had other things that they would take home in their portfolios at the end of the year, but this was one of the display projects that we would do. I've made 4 of them. Today I'm going to show you how to do the first one. But basically, the first one's easy. The first one's the easiest one. It's apple. I'm going to show you how to do each of these. B is bee. C is going to be cactus. D is a duck. So anyway, we're going to go through and you're going to be able to do a letter for a directed draw for each letter of the alphabet. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to walk you through it. All the little tips I learned over the years, how to turn this into a book, and I think that's it. So for this activity, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need white paper, but the printer paper, not construction paper. You're going to need a felt tip pen. We called them Monarch markers, but directed draw markers, felt tip pens, whatever you want to call it. In my class, when I did it with first graders, they had a box, so they kept all their supplies, including their markers, in the box. For kindergarten, I keep all the markers in one box so that I can keep track of them, because if the lids come off, they dry out really quickly, and these are kind of expensive to use, or to buy rather. You're also going to need crayons, and then also shading crayons. And shading crayons I showed in a previous video are simply crayons that have been they've been broken, and you can still use them to shade the backgrounds. And you'll need glue, but that is more for you because you're going to be the one putting these together. All right, I think that's it. These are super easy to do. Let's begin. So one of the things I tell the kids first is we need to turn our paper horizontally. I use the correct terminology every time, not vertically, and I'll show them, but horizontally. And I'll have everyone hold up their paper and show me which way their paper is oriented. Then I'll say, all right, everyone, take off the caps to your markers. You cannot go ahead of me. If you go ahead of me, this is a marker. We cannot erase it. So you need to wait for me to say go. All right, and so I'm going to kind of walk you through how exactly I would tell the kids. I would say, boys and girls, today we're making an apple, and I would show them my sample. And I would say, we are going to be making a large apple. It's going to take up the middle of our paper. And I'll show them my sample. And this is a simple one. So it doesn't matter for everyone has a different curriculum, and your letters are ordered differently. But I'm going to do all the letters, but I'm going to start with A. I'm doing mine in alphabetical order. As you go through and do these throughout the year, the writing that you do and the drawing that you do with the beginning kids, the beginning times you do the directed draw, will not be as advanced as the ones you do at the end of the year. So that could be, if your first letter that you introduce is the letter M, your M won't be as nice as, say, your B maybe, if the B is introduced later. Does that make sense? So don't worry about that. I'm going to do it in alphabetical order, and I'm going to get progressively a little more detailed as I go through. Some of the pictures will be a little harder, but I'll have you know, all of these pictures kindergarten can do, I promise. All right, so I'm going to show them this so they can get an idea for the scale. The directed draws are so good for students. I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a moment, but first let me show you how to do this. I'm going to say, boys and girls, find the middle of your paper. And I'm going to say, put your finger where you think the middle of the paper is. And I'm going to say, boys and girls, we're going to make sort of a large backward C. I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to go not all the way to the end of my paper, but close. And I'm going to come to the middle where I started it just at the bottom, and I'm going to stop. So you can see it looks like a backwards C. And then I'm going to say, boys and girls, go. I'm going to have them show me what they've done so that I can make sure they haven't done it really small. If they've done it really small, I'm going to give them another paper and have them do it again. If they've done it in a different way than from what I said, maybe they made it the opposite way, then I'm going to have them redo it. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, boys and girls, find where we started our apple before. And we are going to start there, and we're going to make a proper C. We're going to go up. So it kind of looks a little bit like a heart sometimes. This one looks more like a heart, but let me show you my sample again. Even if it does, we're going to put the stem on it and the leaf on it and color it, and it's going to be an apple. All right, so I'm going to say, boys and girls, do your two sides connect? Can you please hold it up and show me? And then they will, and if everyone's is fine, then I'm going to say, boys and girls, we're going to go back up to where those two lines meet, and we're going to make a vertical line that goes up a little bit. It's going to curve a little bit when you get to the top, and then I'm going to say, boys and girls, go. And then they'll draw it, they'll hold it up and show me. Then I'm going to say, boys and girls, we're going to make a little horizontal line. And then we're going to follow the line we did a minute ago and come all the way back down and touch the top of the apple. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the leaf. I'm going to show them my picture again. Well, it's going to be up, so they'll be able to look at it the whole time. But then I'm going to say, we're going to make a leaf, and we're going to make our leaf look kind of like it's coming out of the stem. I'm going to tell them we're going to make a curve with a little point, and I'll say go. And then when they've done that, I'm going to say touch that point and connect it back down to the stem, and then draw a line in the stem. All right, now before I tell you how we're going to color it and why we're going to color it the way that we are, directed draw is really good for many reasons. It teaches the kids how to be precise because we can't make mistakes when we're using felt tip markers. It teaches the kids how to be detailed. Some of these pictures that we do are a lot more detailed than others. It teaches the kids to be careful. And it also gives them practice with fine motor skills. So directed and listening skills. So directed draws are wonderful. All right, in a previous video, I told you about the shading crayons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the kids before we color our apple, we're going to color around the apple, because when we are making art, we do not leave any white spaces unless it's part of the picture. So I'm going to tell the boys and girls we are going to hold the crayon, the shading crayon, horizontally. And we're going to shade very carefully all the way around our apple. And we're going to go all the way up to the end of our paper. And we're going to do that all the way around. And the reason we do the shading crayon first is because if we accidentally get on the apple, we'll just color our apple a little bit darker and color over it. See, I got a little bit there, but if I make it a little red, it will be covered up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. All right, so then I'm going to take my crayons and I'm going to color my apple, and I'm going to tell the boys and girls, I want you to color your apple the way mine is. Your leaf is going to be green, your stem is going to be brown, and your apple is going to be red. All right, so you do have to, I forgot to mention, you do need to make sure they put their names on the back. Now, once you're done with that, I tend to do this part whole group, because then I don't have to waste a center time doing something I can do whole group. The writing portion I like to do in small group. Okay, depending on when you are doing this in the year, you're going to have different levels of frames for the kids. You might have them tracing the whole thing. A is for apples, apples are red, and you're going to teach them to read it too once they trace it. Maybe they're past that. Maybe you're going to have them have a frame that they have to fill in, A is for, and they have to copy the words off the board. Apples are, and then again they have to copy it. So what I would have, this is the one that I used most often because I think copying from the board is a huge skill. Being able to look at a board and then transfer that word down to their paper takes more skill than simply tracing, of course, right? So, or then me putting it in front of them. So what I would do is I would usually have the exact same sentence on the board that I have on their paper. And where the line is, because I would have the line on the frame the first few, for a while when we first learned how to do this. And I would say, boys and girls, do you see where the line is? Do you see how this says the same thing? And I'm going to say A is for, and what do you think it says? Apples. A-P-P-L-E-S. I want you to copy that word that you see onto this line. They're going to trace this first, and then we're going to read it, and we're going to say A is for apples. Then let's say they do that really quickly. Copying from the board is easy. Well, then we're going to do the next one. And I always try, let me grab my marker. I always try to make the sentences in different colors when I'm putting them on the board so that they can differentiate between the different sentences. And so I'm going to say apples are blank. And we need to think of some words that, and I'll write it again on in a different color on the board. Apples are, and I'm going to draw the line. And I do tell them that when we are really making sentences, we don't put the line. And I'll tell them I'm using that line to show you where I want you to put your word. Apples are, because they need to be able to transfer. All right. So then we'll brainstorm words and so on. I'm going to have them think of some words, and whatever words they think of, I might write it on the board without the lines, just as a brainstorm area. They might say apples are red. Apples are yellow. Do all of our color words. Apples are green, juicy, sweet, sour. And then what I'm going to say is, boys and girls, I want you to finish the sentence. I want you to tell me what you think apples are. Apples are, and I'm going to have them choose a word. And I'll usually, another thing is, if I don't color code them, I might number them, because that also helps the kids that are just beginning to learn to read to find it. And I'll say, what do you want to say? Apples are red, yellow, green, juicy, sweet, or sour. And they'll say sweet. I'll say that's number 5. What letters do you need to write? S-W-E-E-T. You're going to copy what you see on number 5, and they'll write that on their paper. Okay? And then I'm going to say, when we're all finished with this, when they have this finished, I'm going to say, boys and girls, great job. You have written 2 sentences today. And their final project will look like this. And then, so tomorrow the next video is going to be the letter B, and we will do, draw a B as well. I hope you found this helpful. Like, subscribe, and share if you did. Let me show you my shirt. It is, of course, an apple, and it says teach. Hope you have a great day. See you next time.